Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
I'm wearing my favorite shirt. Mike Mahler, if you're watching, I still wear this shirt as old as it is. It's got holes. You sent me a new one, but I love the original one. And I especially love it because when people look at it, they go, maybe we should stay away from that guy. He doesn't look friendly. Anyway, welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We're covering a very important topic today. If you're somebody who's concerned with skin cancer, it makes sense because skin cancer is the number one form of cancer in America. It's not like that in other countries, by the way. Interestingly enough, it's not like that in sub-Saharan Africa. Ask yourself why a country so close to this, on the equator, where people live lives where they're exposed to the sun, don't have the same skin cancer rates that we do in the United States, and you'll start thinking on the right lines. We're going to talk about the real causes of skin cancer. There's some links that I put in the comment section already. One of them was to an interview I did with my brother-in-law, John, who was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and had a almost 2-inch mass in his stomach that went away before the chemotherapy. And that's a worthy a show to listen to. It's a short, we excerpted. It's only like 10 minutes long. It's on YouTube, my old YouTube channel. And then also, throwback to the original show I did about what really causes skin cancer. Lots of good information where I reference the science. I'm not going to go over all the science again in this show because you can go back and listen there. But we're going to talk today about what really causes skin cancer, what you can do to protect yourself from ever getting skin cancer, and what if you have a skin cancer now? What if you have a lesion or even a tumor on your skin? Is there anything you can do short of cutting it out and biopsying it? Yes, there is. And we're going to have a young lady who took my advice, and we're going to talk about her story on the show as well. Before we get started, we have to thank our title sponsor. There's really only 2 sponsors this show. In fact, I'm doing this show for near free. There's only 2 paying sponsors, and that is Legendary Foods and Bioptimizers. I've lost all of my sponsors except NutriNeeds pays us if people buy product. And Sheath, he's kind enough to invest in Gunleash, so I'm keeping his ads going as a show of support to him. But this show goes on for free, basically. I'm not making any money on this show anymore. So when I do these shows, I do them for the listeners because I want to help people. If there's something wrong with me, I was born this way, but I want to help people. And so today's show is dedicated to the listener, but it's brought to you by Legendary Foods, makers of the Sweet Roll, 1 gram of sugar, 20 grams of high-quality protein, 5 net carbs, delicious. You'll think you're eating a Cinnabon, but you're not. You'll think you're cheating, but you're not. They come in cinnamon, chocolate, and wild berry. Get them. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to let them know that you learned about them here on the show. And now, without further delay, we have a fan favorite and his wife on the show today, and that is Jennifer and Rob Regish. How you guys doing? Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, good. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
Usually we're doing the Boot Camp Power Hour, right? And Jennifer is here because she is someone who Rob brought information back to her from the show, and she tried it. So let's start off with Jen. Can we give her the headset for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Here she is.
Hi there.
Hi, Jen. This is your first time on the show. I know you've listened to the show plenty of times. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So let's talk, first of all, you're very fair-skinned. On the Fitzpatrick scale, do you know where you are?
Probably like -5.
So you tan from inside the house, in other words, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Irish and Italian, but I got the Irish skin with the freckles.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And that's very
Blue eyes.
very attractive. Yes. And so, talk about what did you discover? You had a lesion. Where was it? On your leg or something like that?
Yeah, it was on my right shin.
And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
went to a dermatologist.
Yep. And I'm a melanoma survivor, so I'm well versed in finding things that don't belong on me. And when I found it on my shin, I went for my normal checkup. I was going every 6 months for full body scans, and she wanted to take it. She looked at it and said, "Let's watch it." And then Rob and I didn't want to keep watching it and doing nothing about it.
So Rob came home and said, Carl has this crazy idea that if you take ginger extract and apply it directly to the lesion by putting it on a Band-Aid and wetting it, making it a little muddy and putting it on the lesion, that if it's cancer, it'll go away. And what did you say to Rob? He's crazy?
I said, "Yeah, Carl and you're crazy."
Yeah. So, but what happened? Tell the story.
Well, we did exactly that, and he kind of made like a paste out of it, like a gooey paste, and with a bandage, and put it on my shin. And within a day or so, I started to feel some heat. I felt the heat immediately, but within a day or so, I really felt the heat. And so we kept monitoring it and reapplying it, and it was. Sometimes it was a little too strong for me to handle, so we did kind of like an every other day, every third day, so as tolerated. And as time went on, we noticed that the so-called freckle and precancerous
The lesion, yeah.
the lesion, it was starting to just kind of get burned away.
And how long did it take for it to go completely away?
I'm trying to think how many times we have reapplied it. How long did it take, Rob?
It was on for 3 weeks or so.
Yeah,
Less than a month.
it was less than a month, so probably about 3 weeks or so.
Now, did you go back to the doctor?
Yes, I went back to the doctor, and of course the doctor's like searching my leg and searching, trying to figure out where the spot was, and she could see by a little, kind of a scab kind of thing that's where, where it was, and I told her what we had done, and of course, being Western medicine and being a doctor, she still wanted to take the biopsy, and
There was nothing to biopsy.
I know, but they wanted to prove that that it was or wasn't what she thought it was, and the biopsy came back clean.
So now there's science behind this. So first of all, there's a component in ginger called gingerol 6, and it's so powerful anti-cancer that there's a Canadian company that synthesized it and had pure gingerol 6 in capsules, and a single dose was $13,000.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if they ever went to market with it, but they were up in Canada. So gingerol 6 is a major component in ginger that gives it its pungent, almost hot flavor when you eat it. And gingerol 6 has been shown to reestablish apoptosis in cells. What does that mean? In cancer cells, apoptosis stops. Apoptosis is scheduled cellular death. When a cell becomes so old, it needs to be replaced by a new cell. The apoptotic landscape takes it and kills it, and then the body breaks it down into certain components and does away with it, and a new cell now can take that spot. But when apoptosis is disrupted, it's like having a party and people don't want to go home and the party's over and you want to get rid of them. It's like, look, the party's over. They just keep hanging out. This is what cancer cells do. So they stay beyond their expiration date, and then they grow and grow and grow and grow. And what would happen if you just had people showing up to that party, but no one ever leaving? The house would be overflowing with people. You couldn't have it. This is what happens to the cells. So gingerol reestablishes the apoptotic landscape. It takes all the cells that should have died a long time ago and gets rid of them and makes room and reestablishes the growth of new cells. It does this by targeting the inflammation that's at the root of disrupting oncogenes. And oncogenes are the ones that turn on to create cancer. So we've known this literally for at least 50 years now. There is so much. In fact, if you are concerned about any cancer, all you need to do is go to the National Institutes of Health, PubMed, and simply Google or search two words, gingerol, Gingerol, and cancer, and watch the studies that come up. Gingerol reverses colon cancer. Gingerol reverses all sorts of cancers. Gingerol is magic if you're worried about cancer. But the exciting thing about skin cancer is that you can apply it right to the cancer. You can apply it right to the lesion. The first study I read about doing this took rodents, and they painted them with something that causes a spontaneous breakout of tumors. And then one group they painted with just distilled water, and the other group they painted with ginger extract, standardized for 5% gingerols and distilled water. And the group that got the ginger paste, their tumors went away in like 2 weeks. They were gone. And I read that and I thought, how could that be? That's like, why don't doctors talk about this? Why do they want to go right away for things that destroy your body, chemotherapies, or cut you up? Removing a cancer doesn't stop it from coming back. So that one study made me do a show back in 2007 that basically said if you can only afford to take one supplement, it should be ginger extract, because ginger extract does so many great things. It reduces chronic inflammation. It's an androgenic compound. It acts like testosterone, and it eliminates cancers. It protects you from them, but it also gets rid of them. And if you look at the studies, you'll see that. So I know that if you have something growing on your skin, you can literally get rid of it by putting ginger extract, standardized for 5% gingerols, directly on it and wet it. Taylor C says he drinks a cocktail of ACV, sea salt, lemon, ginger, and cayenne, and monk fruit in the AM. Is there a therapeutic dose? So talking about therapeutic doses, it depends on where the cancer is, right? But my brother-in-law had lymphoma, and he had almost 2-inch mass in his stomach. And there's a link in this thread above of a YouTube. It's the very top one, YouTube. If you go, you can listen to his testimony about what happened. Anytime you can get the ginger extract right on the source of the cancer, it works faster. So I had him taking 2 grams of ginger extract 3 times a day on an empty stomach. And when we went back for the chemotherapy, they couldn't find the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in his stomach any longer. It disappeared. And I asked, and you listen to that study, I asked the oncologist, how many times have you seen this? He said, what? I said, the mass go away like that. He goes, oh, whenever we give chemotherapy, it goes away. I said, no. He's back up here to get the chemo. He had the port in his stomach. He hadn't had chemo. I said, how many times have you seen it go away before the chemo was applied? And he said, never. And I said, you want to know what we did? He said, sure. I said, we cut all sugar and carbohydrates out of his diet, and we did this thing with the ginger extract, and he dismissed it. He goes, oh, that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
But when you look at the research on ginger and cancer, you will wonder, why don't doctors tell patients who have a high risk of cancer to use it? I mean, it's astonishing to me, quite frankly. Don't forget, on the show that we did about the real causes of skin cancer, it's not the sun. The sun is an unwilling participant. What everything you eat and swallow makes its way into every cell in your body. And if you have a diet high in artificial sweeteners, artificial colors, artificial this, artificial that, they could become oncogenic. In other words, when sun hits them, it makes them turn into cancers. And the other thing that people need to understand is, if you want to protect yourself from ever getting cancer, make sure you get plenty of retinol in your diet. There's studies that show unequivocally that sun depletes retinol, and when retinol is low in the skin, cancers form. Those studies are on PubMed too. You can look at them. So if you're worried about getting skin cancer, start looking at your diet. Like I said a little while ago, sub-Saharan Africans don't get skin cancer until they move to the United States and they start eating like us. It's true.
Yeah.
And I would challenge anybody to prove me wrong. In fact, last time I did a show like this, somebody tagged a dermatologist friend of theirs, and they said this is nonsense. It's not nonsense. They can't defend it because there's science that proves everything that I'm saying. If you put the effort in, you'll find it. So now you don't have this lesion any longer. Do you use ginger regularly now?
I had to stop taking it orally because I have some
Heartburn?
GERD. Yeah,
Yeah.
heartburn. It was coming back up on me. But we've been talking about trying to, now that I've changed jobs and don't have stomach ulcers anymore, they're healed up. I'm thinking about trying to do it orally again, but making sure with food.
It definitely relaxes the esophageal sphincter. Ginger does cause heartburn, if you will, GERD. It does. If you take it with food, or take it and then eat, so the food is on top of it, it's less likely to do that, and it's still going to protect you. How do you encourage retinol production? You can't encourage it. Retinol must be gotten from outside sources. Eat lots of liver. Liver has plenty of vitamin A in it, activated vitamin A. Or take retinol palmitate, 10,000 IUs a day. That's it. You can't. Your body doesn't make retinol. It's one of those essential dietary components that you must get from outside. And don't be fooled by vegan dermatologists who say, well, just eat carotenoids. They do the same thing. They don't. They don't. Carotenoids don't convert to retinol in probably 70% of the population. So you must get active vitamin A in your diet however you can, whether you supplement with it, whether you eat plenty of eggs, whether you eat liver, but you have to get active vitamin A in your diet. You have to. And that'll protect against skin cancer all by itself. So, now, Rob, you said you take ginger extract every day, right? You may want to give him the heads there.
I'm sorry. The ginger extract. The
Yeah,
question
you
again
take it every
was,
day. You take the ginger extract every day, right?
I do. We have this is the same ginger that we used on her skin, a 5% gingerol extract. And you'll see those go for around 25, 30 bucks online. I would caution you not to be fooled, so to speak. The non-extracts go for under 10 bucks for the same amount, 250 grams. But I've seen extracts as high as 25%. I'm not necessarily convinced that, it gets you to the grocery store. Maybe you have to take one capsule instead of two or three. But from my readings and all of my research, between 1 and 2.5 grams a day is the best preventative against the widest number of, adverse health conditions that you can imagine. And so if I had to take one supplement with me to a desert island, it'd be this stuff. And I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. It tore through that skin cancer to the point where the doctor had trouble finding it.
So, how do they make? So, what's the difference? I'm asking this question rhetorically. What's the difference between the ginger powder that you buy at the grocery store that's a spice and ginger extract? Okay, so ginger extract starts out as that powder, and then it's soaked in ethanol, alcohol, and then it's sprayed on cellulose, which is fiber. And each time they spray it, it concentrates more and more of the gingerols and shogols, the components in ginger, on that fiber. And so basically, if you buy a product that says it's 10% gingerol, they're just spraying it a lot longer. And I don't think it's worth it. If you get a 5% ginger, all the research on ginger and cancer has been done with extracts at a 5% gingerol. It's not worth paying 5 times the price for something that's 10 or 15 or even 25% gingerol. I've seen it's just not.
Yeah.
I really think that the 5% is all you need, and it's the least expensive and it's the most popular. And if you just go on the web and Google, 5% standardized 5% gingerol ginger extract, you'll find lots of sources. But then email them and ask them 2 questions. Where does your ginger extract come from? And how fresh is it? So when it's fresh, it's brown. It's almost brown, like mud. When it's older, it gets tan because the volatile oils that you want, this is where the gingerol is, are starting to evaporate and oxidize. And if it's coming from India, be cautious, because India is notorious, even their curcumoids, even their curcumin, there's a lot of pollution there. I would opt for ginger extract that comes from Asia, China, or even Japan before I would opt for India, because they're known to have a lot of pollutants in their products. And if you can get an organic ginger extract, get it. You can't go wrong with that, even if it's a little more expensive.
Those are some great points, and I guess that's how we looked at it. This stuff has been 5% stuff has been doing the job for both of us. So why, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. Is how we looked at it.
No, it works. 5% works. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I got to run a couple commercials, and we're going to come back and talk more about this. And if you have questions, with more Super Youth Radio.
Hey, this is Carl Lenore. I am the inventor of Gun Leash. Over 500,000 handguns are lost in the United States every year. If you carry a gun like I do, you are 300 times more likely to lose your gun. And 15% of those guns will end up in criminal hands and used in the commission of a crime. Gun Leash solves that problem. Gun Leash is a patented, no-tracking proximity device the size of a postage stamp. It will alert you as soon as your gun is outside of your range, so you can never leave your gun behind. To learn more and to be notified when Gun Leash is available at the end of January, go to gunleash.com and get on our mailing list. Gun Leash. Never lose your gun, never leave your gun. Great sleep upgrades you on virtually every level. Body fat, muscle mass, mood, brain function, and countless other ways. But taking melatonin alone isn't the answer. Thanks to a brand new sleep formula developed by my friends at Bioptimizers, you can experience the best night's sleep ever. Sleep Breakthrough is a delicious sleep drink that supports your natural melatonin production and relaxation without creating a dependency so you can have the best night's sleep on demand. It targets 5 different sleep pathways to give you the best sleep ever. And best of all, you'll wake up feeling rested and rejuvenated so that you can have the best day possible. For an exclusive offer for my listeners, go to sleepbreakthrough.com/SHR and use the code SHR10 for 10% off. Plus, you can unlock special gifts with the value of at least $20. This is a limited time offer, so go to sleepbreakthrough.com/SHR right now. There are lots of concerns about food supply today. That's why you need White Oak Pastures. White Oak Pastures will deliver food right to your doorstep. You don't even have to go out and be disappointed by shopping in grocery stores. The finest beef, pork, lamb, duck, and more can be found at White Oak Pastures. And now they even have seafood. And best of all, White Oak Pastures has a negative carbon footprint, which means that you don't have to feel guilty for eating your ribeye. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 15% off.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
I'm leaving the White Oak Pastures ad up for a reason. It's not 15% off every order. We've caused a lot of trouble for them. It's 15% off your first order. And we have to update that banner ad. But please know that it's not 15% off every order. It's 15% off the first order. But they have the best animal protein in the world. The farm is regenerative. They have a negative carbon footprint, which is thought to be impossible for those people who are worried about the planet. So always patronize White Oak Pastures. shrnetwork.biz/White Oak. They have amazing pork chops that I love. I'm a big fan of pork now. I think people are missing out. For some reason, they're afraid to eat pork. I think pigs share biology with humans. I think it's a more appropriate animal protein to eat. I just think the pork producers have done a horrible job at promoting pork. They need to catch up with the beef producers, quite frankly. So have you shared these stories with anybody else, Jen? I'm going back and forth. They only have one headset. Have you shared these stories with anybody else, Jen?
Oh yeah, yeah. Everybody I encounter that I tell my skin cancer stories to, ranging back from my melanoma that I initially had in my face up until then. I talk about the fact that now I don't even have to go for every 6-month checkups. My last one, I was so clean, there was nothing new, nothing of concern, and I'm up to a yearly check now.
Sean Wasson is watching. Sean was one of the original investors in Gunleash. I laughed during the last commercial break because Gunleash was supposed to be released in January. And here we are going to be July very shortly, and we're still trying to bring it to market. And lives are being lost every day we don't bring it to market. I'm serious about that. I've tried to get so many politicians to get behind this project, but I've come to the conclusion that politicians don't want the gun problem to go away on either side of the fence. It's not a partisan thing. Sean has also introduced other investors to the show, to the project. So he's a huge support for Gunleash, and I have to thank him for that. And he's saying, hey, Rob and Jennifer, what's up, guys? And of course, Sean was a big fan of the Blueprint Power Hour back in the day. Do they believe you when you tell them, Jen, about ginger and what it did? Do you think they believe you? They think you're crazy?
Everybody thinks we're crazy, with all the supplements that Rob and I take, and if anybody comes in and sees our kitchen counters, they all think we're nuts. But you know what? We're the healthiest nuts out there. Right, exactly. There's two shows on the comment section at the very, very top. There's the YouTube interview with my brother-in-law, John, when his lymphoma went away before having chemotherapy. And then there's a second show that is the original show we did on the real causes of skin cancer. The real causes of skin cancer are your diet. And some of that has just recently been proven by a study. I'm trying to think if it was from Harvard. But here's an interesting fact. Over the years, because I've talked about skin cancer, and I've talked about the implications of diet, and I've talked about
the role that real active vitamin A has in preventing skin cancer. I've had people email me and say, I had skin cancer below the waist, and the sun is never, I've never skinny dipped. I never laid out in the sun naked. How can I get skin cancer where the sun has never been? People are starting to realize, how could skin cancer be because of the sun if the sun has never seen my butt? And more people who start to ask these questions, the harder it's going to be for dermatologists to blame the sun for skin cancer. Look, you can't blame a book of matches for setting the curtains on fire in your house. The book of matches was an unwilling participant. Somebody struck the book of matches and put them to the curtains to set them on fire. That's the way the sun is. The sun doesn't want to cause skin cancer, but you have depositions of things in your skin that when the sun works on them, they turn on oncogenes. That's the same way that there are things in your skin that keep you from getting skin cancer, like vitamin A. You just have to realize that. It's like, holy, if vitamin A that I eat gets into my skin and keeps me from getting skin cancer, then that must mean that things that I do eat are getting into my skin and causing skin cancer. And that's the real truth. That's the real
Exactly.
truth.
Like
It's
sugar.
from
Sugar just feeds those cancer cells.
everything. Well, sugar increases inflammation, and inflammation plays a very large role in damaging the mitochondria and making the cancer cell, because it starts at the mitochondrial level. So we know that you damage the mitochondria, and then the genes change. So yes, you're right. Sugar. People who have diets high in look who has the highest cancer rate? Diabetics.
Hmm.
It's a fact. Why? Because their blood sugar is raging all the time. So sugar. The diet plays a huge role in the propensity to develop all cancers. But ginger has been shown to help colon cancer, skin cancer, lung cancer, all sorts of cancers. Ginger has been shown to help.
Ovarian too.
Yes, if you look on PubMed, you'll be reading for weeks, and you'll say to yourself, "Why don't our doctors talk about this?" It's easier to buy bulk ginger, Sean, online. Just make sure it's standardized for 5% gingerol. And then try to take a gram or two a day. That's all. If you want to put it in caps, do so. If you want to put it on your food before you eat it, do so. But just try to consume 1 to 2 grams of ginger extract standardized for 5% gingerol a day, unless you have a known cancer. Then I would up it to like 6 grams a day. 3 times a day, 2 grams. I'm not convinced that the seed oils are the problem that they're being made out to be yet. I really am not. I haven't looked at the research, to be honest with you, so I don't feel I'm not eligible to comment on it. I know a lot of people are talking about seed oils. And, everything has it comes around. Oh, now it's seed oils, and after seed oils, it'll be something else. But I do know that ginger works if you're worried about cancer. I really do. So now you also had some joint problems. Didn't you have some problems with your knees,
Oh
Jennifer?
yeah, yeah. I've had a couple surgeries on my right knee, and I actually had a full hip replacement as well.
Do you
And
feel that the ginger extract is reducing, has any effect on the pain since it reduces inflammation? It reduces
yeah,
cyclooxygenase production.
yeah. My inflammation with going low carb, no sugar, no gluten, the inflammation, and with ginger, I mean, it helps it's my joints don't ache as much. I'm not as stiff. I have more flexibility, and I'm very prone to I have arthritis, a lot of arthritis, and I had that full hip replacement at 53. So anything I can do to help reduce the inflammation, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Do you notice when you do go off the reservation and you have, piece of birthday cake, or you have, you eat foods that you don't normally eat? Do you notice that your pain increases the next
Oh
day?
yeah, I get so stiff, especially in my hands. My joints get stiff. If gluten, sugar, any kind of high carb sugar, I feel like crap the next day. It's not even worth doing it.
How about Rob? Give him the headset. I've never asked him this question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carl.
Rob, are you pretty much a low carb guy?
Um, Not as low carb as I used to be, uh, but I'm looking further out and wondering whether or not I should return to a very what most people would consider very low carb. I'll be honest. I think most of the benefits of a low carb diet can be had by keeping them to 100 or less for most people.
Yeah,
And let's
I'd
and
agree with
let's
that.
let's be honest. It's also not the best diet for athletic people. You're not muscle is what 70% water, and the suffix is
Glycogen.
hydrate. So
Yeah.
when you drop the carbs, out goes almost 3 grams of water with it, which also explains why people put so much weight on so fast when they refeed carbs. For every gram of glycogen stored, carbohydrate stored as glycogen, there's a corresponding three, almost tripling of water weight with it, carbohydrate. So those are my thoughts on it.
Uh, Now, when you do eat carbs, are you very selective with what type of carbs? Like I try to stay with broccoli, green beans. I try to avoid starches and simple carbohydrates. That doesn't mean I don't go off the reservation once in a while and enjoy myself. But do you have preferred carbohydrates that you gravitate to?
I'm the luckiest guy on earth because this lady right here prepares my dinner for me and other meals, and it's almost always, it's sweet potato,
Yeah.
broccoli, a lot of the mashed cauliflower products that we're finding are, they're better and better.
Hmm.
I wouldn't. It's tough to eat for me before, but not so. They have rice cauliflower and other things. So the answer to your question is, I used to be a lot less selective. But since meeting this lovely lady, I haven't had to worry about it. And I don't feel deprived. I eat my protein first and my fat, and then whatever carbohydrates are left. Here and there, I will have a sugary carb, but I try to do that only on days, let's say, where I had a heavy workout, not
Or
more
you're
often.
planning on having a heavy workout later on and you're going to burn it off. Do you have cutoff times like we will not eat later than X o'clock at night?
No. I'll eat within a window most days, and that window starts, when I get home from the workout around 5 o'clock, and it might extend to 10 o'clock, maybe even 11. It just depends on how hungry I am and what we've eaten. Red meat at the main meal at 5 o'clock will hold me a hell of a lot longer than fish. As much as I love her, the way she makes the salmon and other fish for me, the red meats are, for my body, very, very good. I get stronger, I feel better, I have more energy, and I'm
So let
satiated
me so
much
let me
more.
get this straight. So you what time do you train?
I'll train 3:30 or, well, 3 o'clock, let's call it.
So you stay fasted all morning long. You train around 3 o'clock, and then you have your first meal after training.
Yeah, bear in mind I've been doing this since 1998 when I first read about Ori Hofmeckler's article
Right.
on the warrior diet. And
Hmm.
it's funny because I have people that I'm still trying to convince, give this a shot. I don't, by the way, think it's optimal to do every day either. I think it retains a lot of its punch if you'll do it for a week and then 3 days of regular eating, let's say every 2 to 3 hours, and then back to 3 days of intermittent fasting with corresponding higher carb days, those days that I train, and lower carb days, the days that I don't.
So that's part of your feast and famine in the blueprint, right?
Yeah, although those phases incorporate everything. It's not just a manipulation of diet. It is a manipulation of the diet, of the training, of the supplements, and the timing of all those three are very, very important. And it's much more powerful than a simple change in one of the fundamentals.
If somebody's listening to this show for the first time, maybe on Rumble, where could they find the blueprint program, which includes training, diet, and supplements?
Yeah, you can go to coachrobregish.com. We still have the series up there, including the Ultimate Blueprint, which incorporates pretty much all of my writings on that subject. But to my mind, it the body needs some form of variety, And it's not variety just for variety's sake. It's, like I said, alternating things like periodic intermittent fasting with higher frequency eating. If you're always intermittent fasting, you're gonna
It
at some point,
backfires.
at some point you're
Backfires.
gonna you're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
I do
Backfires.
think it's excellent for digestion. I'm 53 years old, and I can still pack away the groceries. You can ask her, and our grocery bill reflects it,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, I know. I'm a
Yeah.
big eater. That I remember reading that appetite is a sign of longevity, and I probably am going to live at least another 50 years because I'm always friggin' hungry, and
Yeah.
I don't crave cake. I crave steak. I crave eggs. Every I trained this morning. I go to my local place called Wild Eggs. They know me. I either get 6 eggs and a steak or 6 eggs and pork sausages and a bowl of grits, and that's my post-workout meal. I have it. I love it, and people look at me like, 6 eggs? Aren't you worried about cholesterol? I say, yeah, I'm worried about not getting enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you go back to the writings of Vince Gironda, and in that period before the widespread introduction of steroids, the limiting factor in growing muscle was how much food you could eat, assimilate, right, and then incorporate as new muscle tissue. People forget that, and it works the other way too. You'll hear, so and so died from old age. In my opinion, that is their stomachs and their intestines don't absorb nutrients, can't hold the same number of
And it
nutrients.
leads to frailty. It leads to
Right.
frailty is a huge killer today, but people ignore it. They just go, "Oh, well, he's getting older." No, he's getting frail first,
Yeah.
and frailty you have to rail against. You have to train heavy weights. You have to eat high protein. You have to eat good foods.
Yeah.
You can beat frailty. You don't have to become frail.
And interestingly enough, there are a fair number of people, unfortunately, most of them women, that are inducing frailty because they're on these crazy
Super diet.
starvation diets.
Oh,
You know,
let's talk about semaglutide. Let's take our last break and let's talk about the new research on Manjaro, and all these semaglutide drugs. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. BPC is one of the most amazing supplements you can use. It's been shown to increase the speed of recovery, heal the gut, and do so many other things. BPC stands for Body Protection Compound, and it's a naturally occurring peptide in the body. Used by professional athletes and weekend warriors alike, there has always been an obstacle in the way of average people using BPC, and that is it was injectable only. Not any longer, thanks to NutriNeeds. We now have oral BPC, and it works. Go to shrnetwork.biz/NutriNeeds, NutraNeeds. Use the code SHR and save 10% off your bottle of BPC. Feel better, recover faster, train harder. NutriNeeds. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
Hey guys, it's time to change your f***ing underwear, and it's time to change to Sheath. Sheath's underwear's revolutionary designs allows your man parts to hang the way they would naturally hang if you were not wearing underwear. And this improves the blood flow throughout the day to the twigs and berries. If you've never experienced wearing a pair of Sheath underwear, boy, is there an exciting experience waiting for you. Grab a pen and write this down. Go to shrnetwork.biz/sheath. That's SHEATH. And use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 20% off your first pair. And get this, if you're not completely satisfied, send them back for a full refund. That's shrnetwork.biz/sheath.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Hey, welcome back. So I want to talk about this. Some recent research on semaglutide, a glucagon-like peptide agonist. We've done shows on GLP-1 for a long time. And they're all the rage: Mounjaro, Ozempic, all of these products that are promising to help lazy people lose weight. And here's the consensus. They stop working at some point in time. And when you stop using them, you end up gaining at least 2/3 of the weight back, if not more. And here's why. Because the total weight lost on these GLP-1 agonists is almost 2/3 muscle. So basically, you're it's like you have an 8-cylinder car and you remove 3 cylinders and you expect to burn the same amount of gas. No, you're not going to. So now, when you go back to eating the way you did originally, you get fatter. These are I said on a post recently that this reminds me of the HCG diet, where you eat ridiculous amount of food, 600 calories a day, take HCG, lose all your muscle mass, and go, oh, I lost weight, and then you get fatter than before. And someone said it's not true. It is true. Here's the missing thing. Here's what's missing. Doctors who are prescribing Mounjaro, Ozempic, or some other semaglutide product are not telling their patients, you must eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. You must force yourself, because otherwise, no mTOR, no protein synthesis, no muscle. The only way these things work is to preserve the muscle. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, you and I have been around a long time, and we've seen things like this come around. So when I saw it, gaining popularity and it works great, and nobody's talking about side effects. Nobody's talking about downside. And I thought to myself, if I've learned one thing in 35 years of doing this, there's no free lunch. And sure enough, you can look online. I think the 2 biggest side effects that I've seen short term are a drastic decrease in libido and fatigue. Where people are just really, really tired. But let's try to make this a positive. The drug works because it is keeping your insulin low or steady, and it does.
But at what cost? But at what cost? You're always nauseous, so you don't eat. That's right. How they.
There you go. And there are other little things I've read where it keeps food in the stomach longer, etc., etc. Listen, you can do all of that by eating correctly. And no, serious, that is the truth, and there are no side effects other than good ones associated with it. If you look in the literature, you can find evidence that just about all diets work. Low carb diets, low calorie diets, high protein diets, all these diets work. What they're seeing is 2 things: a short-term change, and 2, the common denominator in any fat loss diet that works is blood sugar and insulin are either
controlled,
low and or steady.
Right.
And so that's why this drug is working. So, instead of artificially inducing it and dealing with those side effects, and God knows what else is down the line, do it with food. Listen, they have not.
There was a study that I shared on a group here on Facebook about 3 or 4 months ago. It was a rodent study, but they used human breast cells. So they took human breast tissue cells and they implanted them in rodents, and they gave them a semaglutide product, and the breast cells became cancerous. So I posted that in one of these peptide. People think peptides are the answer to everything. Peptides don't do shit if you don't first remove what's causing your problems. You've heard that here first. I have people who reach out to me and they pay me $400 to consult about peptides, and the first thing I talk about is their diet. And they're like, well, I want to talk about peptides. Because peptides are not going to make up for your shitty lifestyle and your shitty diet. And so I posted this in one of these peptide guru Facebook pages, and the woman who manages the page came right back and said, this is a rodent study, it should be taken, but they used human breast tissue cells.
Yeah, and the funny part is, if the science suits them, then they'll switch the argument and say, "Oh, look, the science shows," and they'll go the other way.
I know a woman right now whose husband is a physician who had breast cancer, and she's lost so much weight because of these semaglutide products. And I'm just waiting for them to say she's got breast cancer again.
Yeah, I don't pretend to understand everything about this drug. That's just not my scene. But what I can say is that I understand it's used at a much higher dose than it is for controlling diabetes.
Yes.
And at this dose, there have been no short and or long-term studies
right
on what might happen. And by the way, folks, take a look up where GLP receptors are in the body. They're everywhere. So if something gets messed up, and it likely will at those dosages, in my opinion, taken for long enough a time, it may or may not be reversible. We don't know. I've read some scary accounts online of people that have lost their libidos and haven't found them yet, and it's been a long time.
So Taylor C wants to know about colostrum potentially helping immunity and skin cancer prevention. I don't think there's anything that points to that.
Well, they'll probably look at some of the research that's done on cows or cattle, and the reality is that it's not going to do anything more profound than, let's say, a well-made whey protein that's high in cysteine residues.
Well, and you're talking about immunity and the role of immunity on the formation of cancer, and cancer immune treatments aren't working great. There are people who have cancers that go and have immune treatments, and the cancer doesn't just go away. I mean, so I don't know that there's a link there. And quite frankly, I think colostrum is anabolic, and I don't know that you want to willy-nilly turn on anabolism if you have cancer. That's just me. It's just me.
Yeah.
Sean Watson says malnourished from like gastric, but yeah, who knows if there's malnutrition going on in people that are using semaglutide and they're just not eating because they're always nauseous. Yeah, that's a good point. They're not getting all the vitamins and nutrients that they're getting from their diet. We don't know that.
Yeah, and I really doubt that these drugs are going to be used as a short-term tool, let's say, to help people. I'm not seeing that. What I'm seeing is you're on it. You're going to be on it for life, because when they do come off of it,
they get fat.
Yeah, exactly. And
fat.
they don't want to go back to being fat. So.
And they're too lazy to do the right thing. Shame on them. You want to know the truth? Once again, haven't we learned anything about shortcuts? Really?
Yeah.
All right, look, that's it. So if you've listened to the beginning of the show, you need to start using ginger extract, standardized for 5% gingerol. It's even better if it's organic. Using it daily, a couple grams a day. If you are afraid of getting cancer, if you're afraid of getting skin cancer, make sure you're taking retinol palmitate or some sort of real vitamin A supplement, or eating liver regularly. You're not going to get the same benefit from carotenoids, from vegetables. It's got to be active vitamin A. That will protect you from getting skin cancer, as will using ginger extract. And if you have a lesion on your arm or on your head, and you're worried that it could be cancerous, you take the ginger extract, standardized of 5% gingerol, put it on a Band-Aid, drop some distilled water on it, make it a little pasty, and stick it right on the lesion, and watch and change it every day. I prefer changing it daily so it's fresh, but watch what happens. It disappears without being cut out.
And I owe you and this show a debt of gratitude, because that's where I learned about it, and look at the good that it did. I mean, to me, this is the essence of the show. I was educated on something that could potentially benefit someone that I love, and it certainly did. And it doesn't get any better than that. That's the beauty of this show. Yeah.
So share this show because you never know who you're going to help. And that's the end. We'll see you soon with more Superhuman Radio. And